What evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
Once again, the thrilling adventures of the shadow. The hard and relentless fight of one man against the forces of evil.
The shadow, who aids the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, wealthy young man about town. Years ago in the Orient, Cranston learned a strange and mysterious secret, the hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so they cannot see him. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only person who knows to whom the voice of the invisible shadow belongs.
Oh, hi, how are you? And welcome to another podcast by George. It's a thrill for me today because we've got a music idol, a blues icon on the line with us today from Minneapolis, Minnesota, or the Minneapolis area anyway. Pat Hayes with the Lamont Cranston Band is going to spend a few minutes with us, and I couldn't be more happy about it. We're going to hear some great music on this podcast, but I also wanted to give you a visual to start with, and here's your visual. I'm in a place called So's Your Mother's back in the early 1970s. It's a place that has a dance floor on the second floor, and I think the floors are made out of plywood because the place bounces like an ocean when the band gets to going. And a buddy of mine said, "You got to go see these guys." He said, they're great. And I said, I don't know. I don't even know if I was into music, live music that much back then, but we'll go see them. And the bands that we'd seen or been around at that time were like high school bands that had graduated to the bar circuit, and they all played the same songs. And, it's just like, oh, God, all right, well, we'll go down there and have some drinks or whatever. So we get up on the second floor of So's Your Mother's, and here's this skinny guy with a lot of dark hair. I want to mention that, Pat. This guy had a lot of hair, and he was wearing sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt, which I thought was cool, again, which wasn't something that everybody did back then. And man, oh man, Pat jumps up on a table, and I mean, this place was jumping, and it was absolutely something else, and I've been hooked ever since. I think you guys have done like 14 albums. I've got to have at least 12 of them. And we've been kind of the Lamont Cranston contingent down here in the Des Moines area. We made a lot of trips up to Minneapolis and different places that the band's playing to check them out over the years. Pat, we went to a place called the Caboose. Is that still up there?
Oh yeah, Caboose is still going.
And you've been playing there for, 30 years?
Well, I don't play there that much anymore because the crowd kind of changed. It's more the college kids go there a lot, and that bunch of kids changes every year.
Yeah.
So what was cool 3 years ago is not cool no more. I go back way longer than that.
Sure, I know.
We do a thing there called the Last Waltz, and I play. They redo the movie Last Waltz, and they do the concert.
Oh, sure.
Tribute. I do Butterfield.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Sometime we open for that show, and there'll be a lot of people there, 1,000 people, 1,100.
Oh, I'm a huge
I don't
fan.
play there regularly. I pretty much don't play bars much anymore. I play concerts now.
Yeah.
Outdoor shows.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the festivals, Bowl Full of Blues. I was at that one, and I gotta brag on you here a little bit. I want to read this just real quick here. I'll take a spin through this. This is the bio that's on the website. I mean, it made me laugh out loud. It says, from the clubs, concert halls, and festivals to the auditoriums and stadiums, the Cranstons have shared the bill with Muddy Waters, Luther Allison, Albert King, Albert Collins, Jimmy Rogers, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Charles Brown, Buddy Guy, Jimmy Thackeray, Junior Wells, Kev Moe, Johnny Lang, Robert Cray, Sun Seals, Charlie Musselwhite, Sam Lay, Earl King, yeah, Mighty Joe Young, Sugar Blue. Yep, it's going to get to that. I'm not even there yet. Otis Rush, Elvin Bishop, Jim Belushi, and the Sacred Hearts, Little Feat, Mick Fleetwood's Blue, Delbert McClinton, my God, Tinsley Ellis, everybody, the Kinks, the Yardbirds, and, of course, one of the biggest parts of the resume for Pat and the band is when they opened for the Rolling Stones. And I'm going to ask you a question about that. I want to get this in because it's always flummoxed me a little bit. Here recently, I read an interview with the Rolling Stones, and I know nobody's more a student of the harmonica than you, and a huge influence from Little Walter and Junior Wells and people like that. Keith Richards said that Mick Jagger is one of the greatest harmonica players that's ever lived, maybe the greatest. And he said that he wished that Jagger could sing like he plays harmonica. Now, I know he plays harmonica, some. I mean, it's not a big part of it. Is he just putting us on, or what the hell is he talking about?
Well, he probably believes that, but he, that's his boss, too, remember?
Well,
he's kind of his boss. Maybe he was trying to make up to him when they had their little...
Yeah, because they fight all the time, yeah. What was it like opening for...
I think what he means is he's tasty. I think he likes... you don't have to play fast to be good. They didn't want John Popper to jam with him when they were on the road because he plays too many notes.
Yeah, and I got to tell you something.
Too many notes.
Yeah, I'm not a John Popper fan myself. Matter of fact, when it comes to, blues and rock and roll, a lot of harmonica players I don't particularly care for, and I've never known exactly why. When you play, I can't get enough of it. I mean, I'm being honest here. I mean, I just love your sound on the harmonica. What's the difference in harmonica players? Some guys kind of just wear it out, it seems to me like. I don't know.
Well, first of all, you got to have something to say. You're probably, looking for something in your spirit that comes out. Your soul. You got to have soul. But if you don't got soul, man, you ain't going to make it. You ain't going to cut it.
Yeah.
But, Butterfield told me that he thought Jimmy Reed was the best harmonica player. And Jimmy Reed will play a solo with 3 notes.
Yeah.
But it's soul, it's just what you're hearing. You're going to hear something beautiful,
And I've heard you call out Junior Wells before. I know you like him.
Oh, yeah. Well, my main guys are Sonny Cherry and Sonny Boy Williamson and Little Walter. Butterfield is a big influence on me, huge influence on Butterfield.
Yeah, he was great in the Last Waltz. I'm a huge fan of that movie, too, up until including the point where the guitar strap comes off of Eric Clapton's guitar, and Robbie Robertson's got to play the solo. Yeah. And did Butterfield play harmonica with Muddy Waters in that movie?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So I do that, too, on the waltz. See, we get a guy to be Muddy, and then I blow harp. They do I'm a Man.
Yeah.
But, Butterfield's behind Muddy.
Oh, that's a good call.
That's really good, though.
I want to get some of your music in on the podcast, and some people may be thinking, yeah, I know these guys. I remember, what's that song that I like that I've heard a bunch of times? And if there's one song of yours that is most famous, and it's because it gets played so much, like if you've ever been to a National Hockey League game, they play this song.
I'm happy camper it's exciting lick, it's exciting riff. No, really, I got the idea of Bonnie Raitt's cabin in California. She let me stay at her cabin for 2 weeks.
God, is she a sweetheart? I've met her, and like with all of these famous people, when you meet them, I'm amazed about a couple of things. They're smaller than you think they are. She's not very big, and my God, she's a beautiful woman, and she's very shy.
But she let me see, because her brother worked for us all the time. He drove the bus. He ran the sound for us down at Soldier Mothers and everything. So I said, I'm really burnt out. I want to take a rest. And she, you can have my cabin up in Northern California, right on the ocean. So I went up there, and for 2 weeks by myself in there, and she had a guitar sitting there, and I grabbed it, and I went, got an idea for the song, and I came back home to Minneapolis, and we recorded it. In fact, I asked Stevie Ray Vaughan to play on it, and he said okay, but I never called him back. biggest mistake in my life.
Oh, my God, man. Well, that's very interesting. Here's the iconic song for our part of the country, basically, and it was written in California.
Well, I was thinking of the Caboose. I said to myself, what song would rock the Caboose? I'm going to write a song that's going to rock that club. And when I first played it, they looked at me like, what is this? Yeah.
Well, this song is taking on a life of its own. I want to give a little bit of this, and then we'll come right back. Upper Mississippi Shakedown by the Lamont Cranston Band. Here it is.
We're going to a party down by the river tonight. We're gonna rock and roll, everything's gonna be alright. Rock and roll fever got me, sure knows how to rock me. We're going down to the Upper Mississippi Shakedown. I've been at work all week long, tonight I just got paid. But I feel so good, tonight I'm gonna see my babe. I got my car running this morning, now I'm giving you a warning. We're going down to the Upper Mississippi Shakedown. Let's go now.
If that doesn't get you going, nothing will. I mean, that's the one that brings the house down. I mean, if you can't get people up out of their seats and get them dancing to that, I mean, they've got issues and probably shouldn't be at a music show. That's a great song. I love that. When was that recorded, Pat?
I think it was 81.
Yeah. And you were kind of, I don't know, in a prolific stage back then. There was a lot of good music coming out of the band at that time.
Well, the band, I write more songs now, way more songs now. But the band was prolific because Bruce was writing, Charlie was writing, my brother Larry was. We had 4 songwriters in the band. We're cranking out songs, you know. So, but my contributions didn't get better until later. But now I'm cranking them out like crazy.
I want to hear some of the.
Well, I want everybody to hear them too, but I get half done, and somebody's got to help me. Like Bruce, somebody's got to help me with the words. I get the music and everything, but the words come a little slower. So
Okay.
I got 75 songs right now.
Wow.
Sitting there almost ready. Some of them are good, some aren't.
And the and Bruce that Pat's talking about is Bruce McCabe, his writing cohort up there. And I've heard you say in concert before, this guy is one of the best lyricists, songwriters.
He wrote "Lie to Me," that song for Johnny Lang. He wrote "Lie to Me."
Yeah, and Still Raining, and yeah, Johnny Lang made it. Well, that's kind of what got Johnny Lang out there, really, where was covering Bruce's songs.
He hasn't repeated that yet either.
Yeah,
Bruce isn't with him anymore. But I thought that was a really good pairing about that song and that voice, you know. But Bruce is great, you know. Plus, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, and
He visits me once in a while.
he wrote a song called "I'm So Shy," and he ain't lying, right? I tried to get the guy on the podcast. He doesn't like to do interviews, you know. And on stage, he kind of likes to hide behind that upright piano, and the dude is kind of shy.
With shades on too.
Yeah. But man, oh man, can he string some lyrics together? Well, you know, and I hear that. But I want to pick out a couple of my favorite songs, and you know, I'm an old lefty from way back, and I kind of like the songs that tilt that way. And Streets Around Here. I mean, I love that song. I play that all the time. When did you write this song?
Well, that was around 81, 80. That was right on the shakedown time. Larry had the lyrics. My brother had the lyrics. I had the music. There used to be an instrumental we did for when I strapped on a guitar, because it's kind of like Albert King lick, you know.
Yep.
And Albert King was the guy I was trying to play like all the time. So I used that as an instrumental to get the guitar on in the middle of the show. But then Larry said, I think I got some lyrics that might fit on there. Because he had a one-chord rockabilly tune called Streets Around Here. It's really cool. But the lyrics fit on there, so we put it together. So it's really me and my brother that wrote it, probably 81. But it's one of the only bands that I wrote that black bands from Chicago were doing. There's a band from Chicago that was doing Streets at the Blues Saloon one night.
Oh, makes sense.
I'm on the dude that you wrote Streets. That's bad, man. And that was, to me, was a super compliment.
I love that song. I want to give it a spin here. I want everybody to listen for Now, who came up with this line? Was it you or your brother about the cockroaches standing in the welfare line?
He wrote that line. That's a hot line. That's a really good line.
That is a great line. This is called Streets Around Here. Check it out. So that's the Lamont Cranston Band, and one of my personal favorite songs. I just love that tune. And, these guys are well known. The upper Midwest, Minnesota, Michigan, Chicago, through Des Moines. That's kind of their sweet spot. But when you guys when you came out, Pat, the music critics, they weren't paying much attention to Midwestern bands. They didn't, they kind of focused on what they had out on the coast. Did you guys fight that through your career? Did you have a tough time getting the recognition that I think you so richly deserve from the critics?
I think the critics were okay, but I think that the whole business setup at that time, we didn't get any help from. We had to do pretty much everything ourselves. We finally got a record deal with RCA. But that thing fell apart when they gave us they tried to turn us into a commercial bubblegum band. But when we were popping up here as a blues band in Minneapolis, there was no business structure in this town that had any idea what to do with us guys. If we were on the coast, we would have had somebody who knew, because we were like Southside Johnny or something like that, there was some bands like Giles, we were kind of in that Giles, Southside Johnny bag, but there was nobody in this town that that wanted to get involved with us that was in the business end of it, when we had to kind of do everything ourselves.
Well, it's a great catalog. 14 albums. I don't know if people want to know if they want to check your band out. I tell them to check out that Double Live CD. I mean, would that be the place to go to, do you think?
Well, yeah, I'd say so. That gives you a pretty good idea. But it's the older stuff, the classic stuff that's pretty strong too.
Yeah.
The older stuff, the classic stuff, the Shakedown, Route 66, Two Trains Running, all that stuff that was real well recorded and kicks butt, The live album is pretty good recording, but like that original Shakedown off the album is a pretty well recorded thing. It's in Streets is too. But and you go back farther for our first couple albums where we didn't really know what we were doing. Like say the first album, we mixed the whole album in 2 hours.
Wow.
Nowadays you mix the song at 2 weeks a song, or at least a day. But me and David Rifkin, he's Bobby, David Z that works with Prince now. He did work with Prince. He's the guy that really made Prince's sound. He was the guy that produced our first album. And me and him sat and mixed the thing in 2 hours. Because the rest of the band was too hungover to make it down to the studio. And I had a terrible headache myself because we partied the night before, and we just, that's good, okay, next, good, okay, next, good. So the mixes on that first album are really dry and in your face, but it was just kind of good in a way.
That's interesting.
The second album, see, we weren't using much reverb on that first album. We ran it pretty dry, right in your face. Like if you listen to Chickens, it's pretty, and Rock a While. And then there's a couple acoustic songs on there that the young kids now like the best, the acoustic stuff that Larry did. But the next album, we got a lot better production. We moved over to Sound 80 Studio. Dave Rifkin came along over there. He was working there. And that one, we used a lot of horns and a lot of more effects in that album called, I forgot what it's called now. Up from Specials Lit.
Yeah.
Specials Lit. That's a good album.
Yeah, it's
with
got
the soul. We got into the soul music and the horns and all that.
It's got the pinball machine on the front cover. I've got that one too. When I think of David Z, that's interesting because one of the bands that I've always liked going back to the 90s is Big Head Todd and the Monsters, and they came in there and recorded with him, and his production technique on the album that went gold for them, Sister Sweetly, and you talked about dry. Well, the production on that album is what you might call wet, very wet.
The only reason ours was dry because I was too I had a headache and I wanted to get home. And so I just said, that's fine, run. Don't even put any reverb. Don't just leave it like that. That's fine. Let me go home.
Well, I don't want to keep you. I got to let you go. I know you guys are busy. You're always doing stuff. You're playing this weekend. And I just, I started off by talking about you jumping up on that table at So's Your Mother's and playing. Well, last time I saw the guys down here, and I've seen them up there several times since then, but down here you were playing at a bar, and I like this even better because by the end of the show, patrons, women customers, had jumped on the bar and were dancing to Lamont Cranston. That's the kind of enthusiasm and excitement this band can bring when they play, particularly in a small setting like that. It was the last time I saw you in a small venue like that. I mean, the place was hot, and it was jumping, and they were literally dancing on the bar. That's Lamont Cranston for you. That's great stuff. Well, let's talk about this song because this is very near and dear to my heart. And the last time I saw you, I think it's pretty close to you too. And it's "My Hair Is Gone." Where did that come from? And it's a great song.
Well, I just figured, it's simple and to the point. There's no monkeying around. It's just my hair's gone. That's it, and it's the truth. It's a true story. But it's just a 2-chord thing, and it's just pretty simple, but these ideas just come out of nowhere. And I like to get a laugh. I think people could use a laugh these days. You know what I mean? Especially now. So, but This one I'm not doing anymore because I just don't feel I have to do it anymore. It's like I said my statement on it. And now, that shaved head is kind of cool.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And with me, I don't have to shave mine. You play that song, I'm taking my hat off and jumping on the dance floor. I think that song's for me. Well, again, we're going to take it out with that song. I want to thank you again for being on the podcast by George, and we'll circle back with you. I want to revisit this and play some more great tunes in just a few months. Is there anything that I didn't get to that you'd like to share with us that I probably should have asked but didn't?
Well, I just want to say that I'm doing real good now. I kind of been going you can tell by what I'm having for breakfast, I'm doing a healthy lifestyle thing. I lost 30 pounds in
babe.
the last 2 years. And I figured that if I didn't clean up my act, I wasn't going to be able to continue playing that much longer. So it's real important for somebody to get around my age to take real good care of yourself physically and watch your diet and all that, And just really makes me feel that younger and have a lot more energy on stage than I have in a while. And gives me a good feeling to know that people like you are interested in my music and that I can go down and play with Bob Dorr at this gig coming up, That's what I just want to say, that I'm doing good, doing real good.
Well, that's great. And I want to thank you for all of the great times. And I'll leave it this way. What I tell people is, for people like Pat Hayes and Lamont Cranston Band, if ever they have a bad day, and I don't know if you ever do, just think about the fact that there's somebody somewhere like me out washing his car in the driveway, living large and enjoying life because of your music. And I've got it turned up and I'm digging it. Just like this song. This is called My Hair Is Gone from Pat Hayes and the Lamont Cranston Band.
My hair is gone. My hair is gone. My hair is gone. My hair is gone. When I look in the mirror, I get so doggone blue. Because my hair is gone. My hair is gone. I talked to my friend Teddy the other day. He told me that women don't like it that way. They're looking for a man with a full head of hair. Well, look at me, you won't find her there. Now my hair is gone. My hair is gone. My hair is gone. My hair is gone. And when I look in the mirror, I get the hair gone blues. Because my hair is gone. My hair is gone. I used to have hair long, thick and brown. Plenty fine women all over town. Now I try to go ahead, can't go none. Looks like my neck's blowing bubble gum.